Okay, so we're going to continue on in 4.5, finding equations of lines. And the thing we want to keep in mind is this y equals mx plus b form of the line, or that f of x. Because once we get the slope and the y-intercept, we plug it into this to get the equation line. So look at this first one. Slope 73 and y-intercept 54. We have our m. We have our b. So plugging in this formula up here, we have y equals 73x plus 54, and we have our y equals mx plus b right there. Now, the next one we have right here, we're given the slope in a line, in a point that is on the line, but not the specific intercept. So that means we're going to have to use our slope m, plug it into our equation up here, the y equals mx plus b. Say y equals 5x plus b. Now we're going to have to use this point, the x and y, to substitute the x in for x and the y in for y, to solve for our b. So plugging these in, 5 equals 5 times 2 plus b. So we get 5 equals 10 plus b. Subtract 10. And we get b equals negative 5. Now, notice, we have our b, negative 5. We have our m, 5. We plug those in. Y equals 5x minus 5. In this right here is the equation of the line that we're looking for. Okay? So, moving down to the next one. We have slope 3/4, and it goes through that point. So again, we have the slope. We don't have the intercept, but we have a point on the line, so that's going to be just like this one. Plug our m in for slope. Y equals 3/4x plus b. And then we plug our ordered pair in. So we have our x and our y, plug our y in. 4 equals 3/4 times 2 plus b. Now the 2 in here cancels the 2 in there, making this a 3/2. So now we want to solve for b, so we need to subtract this 3/2 from both sides. So 4 minus 3/2 equals, if we subtract 3/2 over here, we get cancellation equals b. So the real question is, what is 4 minus 3/2? Now, we got to get a common denominator. Common denominator is 2, so we multiply by 2 over 2. So I'll bring this up here. 2 times our 4 is 8/2 minus 3/2 equals our b. So our b equals 5/2. We have our b, we have our m. Write the equation y equals 3/4 x plus 5/2, and that right there is the equation of that line. So next one, we have the slope, and we have a point. So once again, we're going to do the same thing we did in the last two. Y equals 3/8 plus b. So we plugged our slope in for m. Now we plug our x and y in right here into our equation. It's to solve for b. So we get 4 equals 3/8 times negative 4 plus b. Now this 4 and this 4 cancel, so we take out the 4 in there to give us a 2 and a 1. Now this is negative, so we keep the negative. So let me rewrite this. We have 4 equals negative 3/2 plus b. So we're going to add 3/2. We get cancellation here. But on the left side, we have 4 plus 3/2. So we need a common denominator. So 4 plus 3/2. 4 is 4 over 1, so multiply by 2 over 2. Gives us 8/2 plus 3/2 equals b. So b equals 11/2. We have our b. We have our m. Plug them in. We get y equals 3/8x plus 11/2. And that is the equation of that line right there. So we've done some with the slope and the y-intercept, some with the slope and a point. Now the rest of these, we just have the situation where they're passing through specific points. So the first thing we need to do is find the slope, because it's the first thing we always need to do. So here, m equals y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. So we have our x1, our y1, our x2, and our y2. I'm going to plug those in here. So y2 is 5 minus y1 is 2 all over x1, 1 minus x2, 3. 5 minus 2 is 3. 1 minus 3 is negative 2. So the slope here is negative 3 halves. Negative 3 halves. So we plug this in. Y equals negative 3 halves x plus b. So we do that. Now we can plug either of these 2 points into this equation over here. That is, and for this y right here and this x right here to solve for b. I'll just go ahead and use the first one. Okay, so plugging the y in, we get 2 equals negative 3 halves times 3 plus b. So here, this is a 3 over 1. So we multiply that out, and I'll bring this up here. We have 2 equals negative 9 halves plus b. So to get rid of this negative 9 halves, we add 9 halves. So we have 2 plus 9 halves equals b. Get our common denominator. So that's over 1. So multiply by 2 over 2. Now this 2 times 2 is 4 plus our 9. 4 and 9 is 13. So 13 halves equals b. So we have our b. We have our m. Time to write the equation on the line. Y equals negative 3 halves x plus 13 halves, and that is the equation of the line that goes to this point right there. So you're going to have to move some stuff around a little bit. So here, if we're trying to find the equation of the line that passes through these 2 points, first thing we need to do is find the slope. So because we don't have the slope, that's the first thing we always need in finding these equation of our lines. So m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'll say this is our first point, this is our second, so this is our y2, 4. 4 minus our y1, which is 1, all over our x2, which is negative 1, minus our x1, which is negative 4. 4 minus 1 is 3. Negative 1 minus negative 4, this really turns into a plus 4, so negative 1 plus 4 is 3. 3 over 3 is 1, so the slope of this line is 1. So m equals 1. So we can write y equals 1x plus b, or just x plus b. Now you can substitute either point in. I'll substitute the second one in. So plugging a 4 in for the y, plugging negative 1 in for the x. So you have 4 equals negative 1x plus b. Add 1 to both sides. And we get cancellation here. Over here, 4 and 1 is 5, so we get 5 equals b. So notice, we have our b, we have our m. We can write the equation. Y equals 1x, or just x, plus 5. And that's the equation of the line that contains these 2 points. So, got a couple more of these, and they're right down here. And then we should be okay. So, on this next one here, once again, when we have 2 points, first thing we need to do is find the slope. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And the way that I remember this again is it's rise, and rise has to do with the y values, over run that has to do with the x values. So this is our x1 and our y1, our x2 and our y2, plugging these in. Y2 is negative 3 minus y1 is negative 3 all over x2, which is 1/2, minus or 3/4. Now, negative 3 minus negative 3, that really turns into a plus. Negative 3 plus 3 is 0. 0 over any number is just 0. So this has a slope 0. So our m equals 0. Now, that tells us that this is a horizontal line, so the equation should just be y equals number. But we can do this the way we did it before by plugging things in. Notice we can have y equals 0x plus b. So plugging this point in right here, we have negative 3 equals 0 times 1/2 plus b. This goes away, so we get b equals -3. So our b is -3. 0 times x is just 0, so the equation of that line is y equals -3, and that's the equation of a horizontal line, and we can tell because it goes through the same y values, so it's going to be a horizontal line. Now the last one we have over here is this one, and once again, whenever we have 2 points, first thing we need to do is find the slope. So m equals y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. Now this could be our x1 and our y1, this would be our x2 and our y2. So plugging those in, 22 minus 7 all over -5 minus -5. 22 minus 7 is 15. Now, negative is plus. -5 plus 5 is 0. So 15 divided by 0 is undefined. So the slope is undefined. Now we can't plug this in, but whenever we have an undefined slope, we're talking about a vertical line. Vertical lines always have the equation x equals number. And notice, the x values are the same there, -5. So the equation of this line is x equals -5. That's the equation. And that's finding the equation of the line based on the different scenarios. We could be given the slope and the y-intercept, the slope and a point, or 2 points where we first have to find the slope, and then it kind of reverts back to one of the previous situations. Hopefully that made sense.